Have you seen this? If you drive your car out of Boston, Mass, there's this bar in Canisbrough that serves a steak that's tender. Awesome.
Welcome to Have You Seen This?
The world's only podcast about obscure, overlooked, and misbegotten media.
All discussions will be spoiler heavy.
You have been warned.
This show would not be possible without the support of our patrons. If you would like to support our show, join us at patreon.com/haveyouseenthis. Patrons get the show a week early, and $5 supporters also get access to our Discord. Or you can tip us at our Ko-fi. Visit the link in the show notes. Have you seen this? Or you just fucked?
Are we getting into it?
Yes, indeed. Strong world building here. But what are we talking about, Tim?
We're talking about... Now, I don't remember all 200 and something movies that we've reviewed, but I'm pretty sure that this is the worst one that I've seen.
It's
not the one
bad.
I hate the most, but 2006's Lycan Colony, just shot on a camcorder with a budget of $20, is probably the worst movie that we've reviewed on this show.
Barely visible, in fact.
That's part of it, yeah. More artistry went into that one amazing movie than this. More pathology went into that than this.
I'm glad that this wasn't 3 hours long.
Yeah, thank heaven for small mercies. And Jen, this was something that had been in kind of on your mind for a while. Like, you've really been bringing the garbage lately.
It's captivating. It's cute. I like this kind of movie. This kind of all-encompassing ineptitude. And it is on Tubi, so you can lay eyes on it yourself, which I highly recommend. If you like this.
I'm the complete opposite. No.
Look, if you like this particular brand of absolute garbage, this is a treat. I understand if you don't feel that way.
No, yeah, I do not find it charming or endearing in any way. This is the worst movie that I can remember ever watching for this show.
I just find it really adorable. Maybe because it's just so, like I said, it's so all-encompassingly inept in every way.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. Well, whereas
they really tried.
With, like,
well, let me finish. They tried very earnestly to put a story that they believed in on the screen. Mm-hmm. They tried their very best, and they utterly failed in every single way. It's precious.
That is true. Right. Yeah. No, it isn't. It is worthless. That one amazing movie, you kind of have to almost admire the I don't know, ostentatiousness of it all. Like, just that this guy was so up his own ass.
The monomania.
With what he was doing. Yeah. Truth or Dare, Critical Madness. Like, that movie is a goddamn masterpiece in comparison to this.
Also, it was shot in Florida in bright sunlight. You can see it.
Right. Yeah. That's 2 points in favor. That and tits.
Right up top.
Yeah. A Critical Madness is a thrill ride in comparison. That, I mean, because we'd watch that for this show, and I think that we were both charmed and delighted by just what a bold, foolish excursion, a quixotic movie, a Critical Madness is. Lycan Colony just sucks.
Yeah, Truth or Dare, Critical Madness is the rare shot-on-video masterpiece.
Yeah. Oh, geez. What was it? Not Houseboat Horror. What was the other one with that really ugly kid? That one's
Woodchipper
terrible.
Massacre.
Woodchipper Massacre, yeah.
Another movie that's hard to look at, although in a different way.
Yeah.
This one, I think the reason that I find it so entertaining is because I completely lost it. That's not the reason. Okay. I just completely lost what I was going to say.
Well, you came to your senses. You're like, this movie is entertaining because you... And then you're just like, no, this movie is not entertaining.
I just woke up. I was like, oh God, what did I watch again? Like, I think I was talking about
from a trance.
We were speaking about Samuel Fuller's The Crimson Kimono, and you were like, no, we were talking about Lycan Colony, and then I was like, oh God, wait, what am I saying?
Yeah. Okay. So even its boosters can't think of anything good about it.
let me explicate for the audience, and I think this is key to understanding this movie. And the key is this trivia tidbit that I found on IMDb.
Mm-hmm.
The first trivia item in the trivia section for Lycan Colony says, Director Rob Roy has had a strong connection to wolves his entire life. It started after he first saw Balto, 1995.
Was he perhaps like 11 or 12 and just on the cusp of puberty?
Of something, because...
and
perhaps
yes, certain images might have made an impression on his maturing mind.
And I'm an empiricist, so I wanted to back up my theory about this movie. So I went to
going to lycancolony.com.
I went to a couple of my woodland friends. A couple of friends of mine who are actual furries. 2 friends of the show, Bitter Corella and wife. And I asked them, hey, is it me or is Balto like a really formative furry movie? Like for furries of that age, it's like the Disney Robin Hood.
If it isn't Tiny Toons.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Balto or Robin Hood.
Yeah, like if someone of the correct age saw Balto at...
I mean, Babs Bunny didn't wear panties. Like, you know, give me a break. Like, who's going to resist that?
Oh, so Tiny Toons is why you became a furry? I would have guessed...
This isn't about me.
I would have guessed Lola Bunny from Space Jam, but hey. Anyway.
No, see, because she's a mature adult, and that's
and that's gross.
Yeah, it's weird.
But
anyway,
But I kid Tim.
Balto.
So, yeah, I asked my friends, like, is it just me or is Balto like a huge tell for furriness? And they were like, oh, absolutely. So this is a movie made by a furry. There is in fact
so there you go.
A fursuit in it. Not one of the...
A really terrible fursuit.
Oh,
too.
For sure. And that's the thing about fursuits is that if you have the occasion to see one, often you are downright impressed at the amount of craft that goes into it. Some of them are very good. This is not one of those.
Right, yeah. I mean, a lot of the time it's like, oh, you're just like a mascot looking for a college sports team.
Right. It is wolf-ish, but I think what they were going for is like, super badass bipedal anthro wolf, and instead it just looks like kind of like fabric scrap seconds at Joanne.
Yeah, it looks like a pile of laundry.
It looks really bad, but fortunately, because most of this movie is shot in some kind of day for night, you can barely discern it, so it's fine.
Right, yeah. And really the tragedy of this movie is, the director, was so moved by Balto that, he became a filmmaker when...
Oh, something moved, all right.
Right, yeah. Like, when... Couldn't he have just been, like, a normal furry and gone into IT instead?
That's true. He could have started making $100K a year and only gone up from there. But instead, he had to try to make a movie, which, as we all know, is the dumbest thing you can do if you want to make money. Yeah, it's embarrassing. You will not make money on your movie. You just won't. Especially not this
Ask
one.
Me how I know.
Right?
Yeah. Hell, you won't make money on your movie podcast either.
Hell no.
Right.
No one cares. Sorry, I'm looking in a mirror right now.
Right. You're doing that meme where you're pointing at yourself in the mirror?
Yes. I am 2 Spider-Mans. Spider-Mans.
No, I mean where you're looking at the mirror and you're pointing at yourself in the mirror. You're the man in the mirror.
No, I know that. I know that meme too, but it's funnier if I'm...
But looking back...
If I'm Spider-Man pointing at another Spider-Man.
Right. No, it isn't. But in the reflection in the mirror, though, is like a cartoon wolf that someone drew like when they're on a bumpy road.
It's in their high school math homework.
Oh God, yeah. Like you drew this in a real hurry.
There's a wolf, a bipedal wolf, and like a couple of cool S's.
Yeah. And like as soon as I learn how to draw dicks, like it's all over for you jokers.
but not human
Out.
dicks, canine
No,
dicks.
Right, yeah, a lot of time at the zoo.
I
A
will
lot
learn.
of time
I will
volunteering
learn.
at the pet shelter.
I will learn the ways of the baculum.
Mm. Well, you can go buy one at the Oddities Fair.
Yeah, you can. It's really
So
easy to
that's
get an
the-
animal's penis bone, folks.
Yeah, so that's the origin of the actor from Quantum Leap. It's Scott Many Penises.
Yes, he generated from the penis bone of a coyote. Not many people know that.
Well, from penis bones, plural.
Bacula.
Yeah, see?
Good point.
Right. Anyway, Scott Many Penis Bones is not in this movie.
There is a second half to this trivia item, by the way, which I would like to
Okay,
read to
go
you.
nuts. Yeah.
Okay. He first saw Balto and it inspired him to create his own wolf film, which eventually became Lycan Colony. He even attempted to contact Kevin Bacon for a cameo, but was chased off the actor's property, ironically by dogs, in 2003.
They're like, you're making us look bad. Get out of here. We don't want your kind.
We can tell this guy's a furry.
So another actor that is in this movie, which is interesting because there aren't any actors in this movie.
No, there is bacon. Human bacon.
Right, yeah. If you, again, Jen, I know that you were on the IMDb page because you're just reading straight trivia from it. But if you look at all the credits on there, it is overwhelmingly people with one credit, and it is this movie. These are not actors. These are people indulging their furry friend and doing them a favor.
Yes.
And then they never acted again.
Yeah.
Because why would they? Because they aren't actors, and that is evident.
No, and in fact, a lot of the time when we watch this kind of shit for the show, there'll be like a standout in the cast.
Mm-hmm.
You know, somebody who maybe did a little bit of community theater or something like that. Somebody has a little
Right.
more in the ball than the rest of the clods on screen.
Yes.
There are no acceptable performances in this movie.
Not a one.
Nope.
I mean, anyone who even amongst the cast of non-actors who has more than one credit, those are people who their regular roles are like background actor, like an extra or like a stunt woman.
Mm-hmm.
Not someone who gets up in front of the camera and recites dialogue.
No. I don't think any of these people even had headshots at any point.
Two of them do. And one of them, if you follow through to her profile, she's got her reel, and it starts with a clip of her being raped by another non-actor.
Wow, that's even worse than being raped by a professional actor.
Yeah, or being raped by a professional, because they really know how to treat a lady.
You can get paid to do that? Oh, I guess Hollywood.
Apparently.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. Well, part-time.
Yeah.
It's like a writer/director. It's like producer/rapist.
Oh, I see. I just thought that was like a given. So
It's implied, yeah.
yeah.
Well, yeah, you want to be a multi-hyphenate.
He wears all the hats, folks, including
Right,
the
yeah.
rape hat.
Right.
That's a
Yeah,
bad hat right there. Bad hat, Harry.
Yeah, those hats are not selling well on our website. We're gonna have to ship them off to Africa. So
Delightful.
this movie looks like it was edited in iMovie and filmed off a TV.
It looks very, very bad.
Yes,
I don't understand the choice to shoot day for night, because doing day for
because
night,
it's dark at night.
right? But like doing day for night
They don't have any lights
at all, like you know that's gonna take some kind of like technical know-how. You can't just like throw a blue filter over everything and say there it's night. It's gonna look like shit.
Au contraire.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I'm just Pollyanna.
Yeah, you're
that way.
overthinking this.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. You just they adjusted the color so severely that there are scenes that are just black and blue.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I feel like I took a beating watching this movie too, so it's appropriate.
Scenes where actors' faces are not visible while they are speaking and they are in a close-up.
Right. Yeah.
Like you will see like
Yeah,
part
just-
of a torso and then the rest of the screen is just black.
Right. I mean, they went out at night and they're like, yeah, I can see okay.
Yeah.
I don't know how to work a light. I can see fine. What's your problem? We can record this, and we'll. I think you can adjust. Like, there's a lightness slider. There's a brightness and contrast, and I'll fix it.
That's exactly how cameras work. It's a little principle called what you see is what you get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the same problem with writing software. That it does exactly what you tell it to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I made that mistake before. The the editing in this is terrible. Like we were talking earlier, it is as if you needed to shoot a scene, and that scene had like 12 setups, but then like the DP said, like, look, we're in a hurry, you only get 3. So it's like big steps. Like, listen to this episode and just like, well, you do already, but listen to this episode and just like skip ahead like 30 seconds every time that we make a statement and try and follow it that way. That's what watching Lycan Colony is like.
It's really pathetic too, and to the point where it made me feel bad because the scene where the werewolves first appear in the bar, and you could tell that the director had in his mind just this incredibly badass fight sequence with cool music. And his hero, or as it turned out, heroine, was totally going to just kick this werewolf's ass. And it hit him with a pipe, and it was going to look amazing. Mm-hmm. And it just looks like a fistful of random shots.
It is, yeah, it's unwatchable. The editing is the worst that I've ever seen.
Yeah, like the incredible like Jackie Chan like fight sequence that they visualized did not come to pass, to put it mildly.
Right. Yeah, even like, color effects, and like they have like that crappy Solarize filter to like fill in for night vision. Or like infrared or whatever.
It's like a scene out of the movie Head, where it's like they're trying to be like psychedelic, but
yeah. One of the things too, like, because what you're describing about this fight scene that is kind of just done by like Cliff's Notes. That is one part that sucks. But another thing that I noticed is, and this happens a lot in crappy movies like this, not just because they're trying to pad their runtime, but like the one in particular is, that Riff Tracks points out is like driving and parking, where it'll just be like, well, we aren't going to get to know anything about this character other than that they drive a car and they're parking it in front of either their home or their place of business, and that's the entirety of the scene. And if you recall, listeners, which you already know this, like every scene should accomplish at least 2 things, and those are usually establishing character or advancing the plot. So you can make these scenes worthwhile by having something other than just the mundane action happen in these scenes. That involves things like, I don't know, like cross-cutting, like having audio carry over from like one shot to another. Well, it mostly involves writing a scene, which a lot of the time these filmmakers don't do that. They're just shooting filler and calling it a story when there's no story there. But the thing that I really noticed, another failing of these movies, is they will shoot 2 people talking just from the side, because you don't have to just do shot reverse shot. They shoot 2 people talking from the side and they mention something, the scene stops, there's an insert shot of the thing they're talking about, and then it goes back to the scene.
Yes.
In particular, you have this shitty couple who moved out to this crappy town because the dad's a drunk and got one of his patients killed. He's a doctor, by the way. Drunken Dr. Dan.
Dr. Dan.
By the way, 3 of the main characters in this are Dan, Dave, and Doug. Just goddamn you,
like
movie.
I said, great world building here.
Right. Just terrible. But there's a scene where after their son Stu, who is the director's son, Stuart, who is like any teenage boy who has no interest in being in front of a camera, like his character just sort of like tucks into his chest and just kind of mumbles and doesn't really enunciate or move his jaw when he talks.
Yeah, even when he's
just kind of a mopey teen.
Even when a girl has sunk her teeth into his chest, leaving bite marks, his reaction is still like, hey, that really hurt.
Oh,
my cat bit me once, but this is crazy.
Yeah, it'll be something to remember you by. So, Yeah. After all that nonsense with this family happens, and he goes up to his room and he mopes and he listens to his rock music, which either Rob Roy or one of his flunky friends wrote.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And then and this like stereotypical like manic pixie dream girl type A, sexually forward cock tease comes in.
It's kind of like a gender swap Twilight.
Yeah, sure, I guess. I mean, it's shitty, so that part isn't any different. But she climbed in there, and he's like, how'd you get up there? And she's like, oh, I do rock climbing on the weekends. There are a lot of great footholds up the side of your house. And he's like, how do you climb up in those trees? And then the scene stops, and there's an insert of her shoe. They don't continue to talk over this. They don't continue to banter and flirt. It's just like, here's the scene. Here's the shoe. Okay, back to the scene.
Like, and we've had a couple of these on this show. It's one of those movies where they didn't know that audio mixing was a thing. Like Showgirls 2 is one of those. It's like, what? Like, you put the sound in the timeline, and then it's there. Like, it's easy.
Yeah, sound is sound. I heard what they were saying.
Like, you just put every sound that was on the set, wanted or not, just goes into the final mix.
The sounds of the strap of the camera right next to the microphone built into it. You're going to pick that up.
It's authentic. It's verite.
Yeah, it's
very dumb.
That is, by the way, Jen, I know that you go on about your misophonia and everything, but camera sounds in a film are one of my pet peeves. Like, if you hear like the zoom or like the lens or the strappers or something, or like the lens cap clinking against the body of the camera, that just sets my teeth on edge.
Yeah, and that's
like I'm ready to rage.
Yeah, and we should be clear, that's a rare occurrence. I think most people aren't watching movies where that happens. Unfortunately, we watch a lot of those kinds of movies because usually the only place where you'll get camera sound is, like, for example, the other day I sent Tim a link to an old British documentary from the 70s that I found on YouTube that was shot. They shot interviews on 16, and I was like, is that me or is that the camera running? And like, because they're in like a tiny ass like British flat. Yeah,
it's like a council house or something.
Yeah,
we're all shooting in this room.
Yeah, it's a 16mm camera from like Granada Television or something, and it's like, we just need to get the interview with these people. Like, fuck it. Like, yes, you'll hear the camera running. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, all the surfaces are like, Formica and like press board. It's like, sorry, sound's gonna bounce around here.
Beautiful
I don't
country.
Tell you. Yeah, but I hear all these audio problems and I see all these editing problems, and I just I'm like a lycanthrope at the full moon. I just just throw my head back and I bellow, mistake.
It sums up the whole movie, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's
yeah. Going back,
that's the way they went about their casting.
Really quickly, going back to what you said about the inserts, because like, to you, like the example of the insert shot of the shoes stuck out to you. Obviously, the one that gets me is like Tim said, this movie starts with a kind of awful family, a harping wife, her recovering.
Great line reads, by the way.
Oh yeah, her recovering alcoholic husband and their mumbling teenage son. And
like the mom has got it cranked to 11. The son is barely speaking, and the dad is kind of like lukewarm water.
Yeah, the mom thinks she's in Real Housewives or something. But while she's reading her awful husband the riot act.
Yeah, like she tells him, some surgeon, ha.
That's some actor studio shit right there. But
yes.
So she's reading him the riot act, and your brain is crying out, like, cut to his reaction. Cut to her husband's reaction, because like the setup of this scene is that the son actually didn't know why they moved to this town. It's because Dr. Dan got so hammered before surgery, he ended up killing a patient during an
Right.
operation. The son didn't
Which
know
seems
this.
weird. I mean, doctors lose patients all the time.
Yeah, like if you've ever listened to the podcast or seen the show with Joshua Jackson, Dr. Death, like it takes a surprising amount of concerted effort to remove
Right.
a
Yeah.
doctor, even a doctor who's maiming his patients on a regular basis.
Yeah, you really got to work at it.
Yeah, but that's for a different podcast. But maybe like I don't know,
Right, yeah.
like these people are all massholes. Maybe they have no loyalty to each other or something. So they kicked this guy's ass to Canisborough. But anyway, so while the wife is just running down her husband to their son,
I would say she's so much reading him the riot act as she is flubbing him the riot act.
very good. While she's doing that, which is like this is a heavy scene, right? You know, between a husband and a wife, for a wife to reach that level of disgust and contempt for her own spouse, for a man to have failed so profoundly in his professional career.
Yeah.
That's heavy shit. Will we get a close-up of the husband as we learn exactly how much faith his wife has lost in him? Hell no.
He's not the one talking.
Would we get anything out of that close-up anyway from this actor? From this chowderhead from Boston? The guy the camera's pointed at.
Okay, thank you. Yes.
But
we do want to be precise in our descriptions
and
here.
this is the delightful cherry on top of the scene for me. We don't get an insert shot of Dr. Dan contemplating his complete and utter failure in every area of his life.
Yeah, his humiliation in front of his family.
We do get an insert shot of the garbage that he has not taken out.
Because they're talking about garbage. You need to show the garbage. Otherwise, people won't know what she's talking about.
Like, that sums up the movie right there.
Right, yeah, and you can't have the woman continue to speak while we show the garbage. It is, woman makes a polemic against her husband, show the garbage, back to the speech.
Oh, maybe because the garbage represents her husband. Okay, well, I retract my entire point.
Yeah, the garbage represents something. Yeah, and we are kind of glossing over another problem, too, is that, no offense, but the Boston accent is really terrible to listen to.
It's very grating.
Yeah, like, give me, like, that fake Matt Damon, like, in The Departed Boston accent. Like, give me the fake Hollywood one.
The movie Boston.
Yeah, but, like, to have a real Boston accent, I'm like, well, part of it isn't just having to listen to them, but mercifully, the audio is mixed so badly, I had to turn on subtitles partway through. Just because, like, I can't understand them and I can't hear them most of the time. But when I do, it's awful. So I at least was able to read along instead. But yeah, the preponderance of Boston accents in this movie is just, it is just nails on a chalkboard.
It's very bad.
Yeah. We spent like the first, 10 or 15 minutes of this movie about drunken Dr. Dan, his harpy wife, and his muttering son. By the time we get to the end of the movie, Dan doesn't matter to this story.
No, he
Yeah, he doesn't do anything. He's completely irrelevant.
Yeah, he's sort of a connection between the outsiders in town who are Russ and Doug.
Yeah,
the
he's
two siblings who are searching for their father.
Right, which is they could have cut Dan's role from this movie entirely. Like, he's the MacGuffin. Is a MacGuffin. You don't need him as a MacGuffin because after his AA meeting, because he's an alcoholic, they go to a bar, as you do, and that's where they meet the two protagonists of this movie, like the actual protagonists.
Yes.
Yeah, because the aforementioned garbage, which did get its own close-up, thank you, that gets taken out by drunken Dr. Dan, and his AA sponsor just sort of appears.
Yes, and this
just
is
outside, outdoors.
And this is Dave.
Yeah, this is Dave, not to be confused with Dan or Doug. But he's like, hey, you got to go to your AA meeting.
Yeah, he's very invested in Dr. Dan's sobriety.
Right, because he's his sponsor. Although, like, Dan is like, oh, my wife is going to get mad. It's like, his wife doesn't want him to get sober? Like, what the?
Your wife is already mad, dude. She already hates your guts. Like,
right, yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, none of it matters. So the editing is terrible. I think that partly because, you know, like I was saying, where you can have people continue to talk over a different shot, believe me, like, it's possible. On the other hand, they swing the other direction because the son Stu and this, you know, manic pixie werewolf that he meets, they go out to frolic in a graveyard and they talk while giggling. So, like, they had too much audio in this scene. Most of the time, it's not enough.
Yeah, it's like they wanted a montage effect, but
do you have any idea how much editing that requires? Like,
right.
Editing is not this guy's strength.
Yeah, and it is a choice. I mean, and a lot of times with these kind of Z-grade movies, like, you can kind of see what the filmmaker envisioned, what they were going for, but were simply too inept to put on the screen. But in this case, I honestly don't know what they were doing. Like, in a case like this, I would more likely...
Well, that's two of you.
In a case like this, I would put money on simply a stray audio clip being left in the timeline.
That's entirely possible.
Because
yeah.
The other thing about this movie, and amid its many, 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 many technical failings, are the fact that they can't even decide what aspect ratio the movie is in, from not just scene to scene, sometimes shot to shot in the same scene.
Yeah, and that could be that same sort of, I copied the wrong settings and I pasted from another scene, and
right.
It, like, just stretch it to fit or something.
Yeah. And like Tim says, if his movie pet peeve is camera noise, mine is people not noticing aspect ratio problems. Like, every time you see the ovoid moon, it just drives me fucking crazy. It's like the moon is round. You know the moon is round. What is wrong with you? The moon is an important factor in the plot of this movie, and yet you cannot even make sure that it is round.
Like, it's flat, we know that, but more to the point, it is also round.
It's so, like, that's so easy to see. But people
Had you eyes to see, that's really it.
I guess so, but, like...
If you're just basically unskilled, you know, if this were Traveler, they would be at a DM -3 to make a movie.
I'll take your word for it.
Right, yeah.
Tim's the expert,
That means that
folks.
that means that you need an 11 or 12 to make a competent movie on 2 dice. So, unlikely at best.
No, we're not getting into double digits in this movie. No way.
No. I wouldn't take those odds to the craps table. Another thing, too, because you're talking about what the director envisioned, but having zero skill to actually enact that vision.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is from a person who just cannot picture, or who cannot get across the scene that he's trying to, the movie that he's trying to shoot. Whether it's a fight scene in a bar, whether it's a montage of 2 teens frolicking in a graveyard, whether it's shooting something at night that you can actually see. I wonder, is this better or worse than an AI-made movie?
Well...
it's certainly sloppier, I'll give it that. But in terms of, like, just lacking an artistic vision, which is worse?
For me, that's actually an easy choice because, like...
Well, I mean, unethically, yeah, it's an easy choice.
No, but, like...
Ethically.
No, but, this whole show, this idiotic quest that we've been on for more than 200 episodes, we've watched so many movies that are, that just really fail at being, like, coherent artistic statements or everything, but they're artistic statements, and you can't deny that this movie was made by a guy who really cared about Balto and couldn't stop thinking about wolves. And eventually he fleshed out his own little story about this little town in the middle of nowhere where everyone's a fucking werewolf. You're not going to get that with an AI. AI is just it. It's like AI art just looks like visual noise to me. It is incredibly and gratingly unpleasant.
So if it was between any AI movie and Lycan Colony, you would pick Lycan Colony 10 times out of 10.
Oh, I would campaign for a Best Picture Oscar for Lycan Colony. Like, AI is just shit. It's shit.
Yeah,
I hate it.
We're
Never show it to me. I don't want to see it. I'm an artist. You might as well hockaloogie directly into my face every time you show me an AI image. I don't want to see it. It's ruining the planet. It's ruining art. It makes me feel bad. Fuck AI.
Okay. So, yeah, we continue to find new depths of just unwatchable garbage.
Yes. I mean, as bad as some of the movies we've watched are, we will never subject you to any form of AI. That is a fucking promise.
Yeah, I would not like to watch an AI movie.
Ugh, no. I would happily watch an entire day of Apple TV Plus shows because those have more soul than anything created by AI.
You know, I hear a lot of buzz about Severance. Do you know that it's possible sometimes to work a job that is sort of nebulously harmful, but in ways you don't really understand, and then you go home at the end of the day?
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah. I do know that because I have worked in an office. But I guess some people are just like, whoa, I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the kind of people who watch Apple TV Plus shows. Like, they're all
fair enough.
They're all like Buttigieg voters. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, this bland slop is perfect. I love this.
Yeah, like I helped inflict like freemium games onto, to pry open the wealth of just, unsuspecting rubes. Like, there's nothing Severance can show me that I haven't already lived.
Yeah, pretty much.
I just hey, yeah, there it is.
Maybe I'll just watch Gemstones again.
All right. So Dan and Dave, they go to a bar, but not to drink. They go for a coffee at like 10 at night because that's a normal thing people do.
Yes. That is.
Why are they in this fucking bar?
When I think I really, really need a coffee right now, that's the first place I think of to go.
Right, yeah.
Especially as someone sponsoring a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah. Like, they needed one good reason to go to this bar, and instead we have two bad reasons.
And it is called out in the script, believe it or not. Dave makes the case that as someone in recovery, you are inevitably going to be surrounded by temptation. So you might as well face it head on, which, okay, maybe you could argue that.
That's pretty weak.
But the way it comes across, because like I'm a person who is accustomed to watching narrative stories on a screen, it really feels like Dave had some nefarious reason for like trying to get Dan to this bar, and things do go like incredibly pear-shaped as a result.
Right, but
not because
of
any
ways that are relevant.
Yeah, not because of any of Dave's like planning or anything like that.
Yeah,
it's like a fake setup.
It is a setup that doesn't need Dan.
No,
Dan doesn't need to be in this story, because even if and I hate that I'm doing this, I can parse out what the director was getting at, which is
yes, Tim. Yes, go deeper into his mind. Yes.
Oh, if only I could dress up as some kind of woodland creature to be my true self. People will finally like me. Everyone loves a cartoon scamp.
Next thing you know, you'll be on Redbubble ordering shirts with pictures of hyenas on them. When you start calling them yeens, I'll know that you are too far gone.
Don't even. Yeah. So
I know the signs.
Yeah, I think that in the meta narrative of Lycan Colony, Dave has embedded himself, because we do get Dave, who is terrible on screen. He belongs nowhere near the pointy end of a camera. He should not be in front of a camera.
That's a really good point, because thinking about it,
Yeah.
he legitimately might be the worst actor in this crowded field, because like he can't even say his
Yes.
lines correctly.
Awful. And I know that like we flub just trying to push two thoughts together, trying to form a statement. But I mean, we're doing one take of this. Like they had all night to be like, okay, Dave, just read the card.
Yes.
Just read the card in a normal cadence. Make sure that you say all the words before you finish your statement.
So maybe actually think about what you're saying as you're saying
No,
it.
just speak what is printed, what is handwritten on the card.
Yeah, you know what? That would probably confuse him too much.
Yeah. Well, it's like patting your stomach and rubbing your head.
But
Anyway, my point being, Dave took Dan as an excuse to the bar because he is trying to get closer to Zev, not
Zev
Zev,
Billringer.
not sexy Zev from Lex. God, I wish I was watching any episode of Lex, even the musical episode, even something from season 4.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can see that as the reason it doesn't come across in the story, and we just wasted 12 minutes with Dan and his stupid home life. Also, like it feels like they've been walking for hours to get to this bar, because there's a whole interlude between when they leave for the bar and when they get there. It's like, have these two idiots been walking all night to go get a coffee just like before bed?
Yes, and also, did you notice there's something which we mentioned in our Sleepwalkers episode? I think it might have been our guest Paul, who pointed out that the laziest jump scare is like a cat jumping out of nowhere. There's an attempt at a cat jump scare, but they can't even startle the audience with a cat in this movie. It's like you briefly see a cat-like shape on the screen, and then Dr. Dan says like, "Oh, you want to change your shorts?" or something like that. And it's like, "Oh, that was supposed to be like scary, I guess."
Oh, yeah. Well, the problem, I think, as Paul also pointed out, is that you can't dub in a cat's sound and expect anything but hilarity.
Yes, there is indeed a very bad stock cat meow sound.
Yeah. So, a brief delightful moment in this awful movie.
So we love our cat sounds, folks.
Yeah. So they end up in a bar, and they're having a couple of steaks. Which, Jen, how would someone from Boston describe a steak?
Awesome. I don't know if I blew out the audio enough when I said that, but...
Well, yeah, I mean, it would only be authentic if you actually blew out the audio. These two characters, like, we've been following these two characters to find out that they are actual background characters, which I guess fits given, some of the work histories of some of the other players in this farce. But they are there having a steak, drinking coffee before bed, not drinking alcohol because they're both in AA. There's a scene with AA, which is, again, with the world building, I hate to hand it to him, and in fact, I won't.
You'll just hold it out on the palm of your hand and then like snatch it back right before he takes it.
Yeah, it's like it's like Harrison Ford in The Conversation when Harry Call hands over the tapes. And like they kind of like fight over it briefly. Yeah, so I'm not going to hand it to him that the AA meeting where all the attendees are drinking water and some are pouring booze into their water because they aren't actually in an AA or they don't care. They're drinking water because in the world building there's like, oh, there's like silver nitrate in the water, and that's what the silver prevents us from becoming a werewolf. And so it's like, oh, that's why everyone's drinking water. That's why they haven't turned into werewolves.
Yeah.
Good world building.
And because the harvest moon is here in the
is awesome
in the movie's storyline, I guess this is a very fraught time for all concerned because they're more likely to lycanthropize. Like they have like some kind of like control over their lycanthroping.
Yeah,
I guess
it isn't well described other than like, oh, like there's silver in the water in this valley from a spring, and
yeah,
the silver water with prevents us from becoming a werewolf. I don't know. I'm not going to try to do a Boston accent. I wouldn't inflict that on my vocal cords.
I really feel like all of the written material for this movie
Mm-hmm.
never made it out of a spiral-bound notebook. Like, everything having to do with this movie was written in ballpoint pen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think this guy knows how to work a computer? I don't know.
No, Final Draft, what's
a word
that?
process? Right, yeah. I mean, I guess it's edited
I
on a
can't
computer,
type with my giant wolf paws.
I mean, I guess he edited on a computer, but in which case, I rest my case.
This feels like it was edited on a smartphone.
Right.
This is like pre that kind of like software for phones, but like it feels like it. It might as well.
Well, they just hit stop, yeah, and then
it might as well have
again.
been shot vertically.
Mm-hmm. Ugh. There's another. Yeah, you think you hate aspect ratios now. Right. So he's having his awesome steak because he's so sick of soy that his wife keeps making for him.
This soy sucking diet my wife's got us on. If I see another hunk of tofu, I'm gonna lose it.
God, this guy sucks.
He really is the beating heart of the movie, isn't he?
Yeah, it's just shitty and useless and not entertaining. I know you come to the show for a little more insight than that, than just this guy fucking sucks, but I got nothing else. Like, I don't know how better to describe it.
Tim is broken.
He's useless in his own movie. If it is even his own movie, he's a tertiary character, and we spent fuck. Anyway, moving on. Two jackasses walk in, like this swole guy and his brunette sister, who are here for whatever reason.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure I got this from Red Letter Media because this movie is bad enough that they covered it on their show. Apparently, the actress playing Russ that part was written for a guy, but that actor didn't show up, which does not surprise me in the least.
Not an actor.
Mm-hmm.
That friend who was gonna like be in this jackass's movie for nothing did not show up.
Yeah, the one guy in the cast who's like, wait, what the fuck am I doing?
You're like, I don't know.
Show.
Like he's sending me pictures on his phone of his notebook and saying that these are the lines. Like, I don't know. Like, I gotta go watch the Sox play. Whatever. What do they do there?
I don't
what do they
know.
do in Boston? I
baked
gotta go
beans,
back to
you got me.
Yeah, I gotta go back to my Professor Emeritus role at MIT. Sorry. I can't be in your movie.
I gotta go date Minnie Driver.
Yeah. Good for him.
Mm-hmm.
So
what a Chad.
The soy thing gets another mention because the swole guy, Doug, and his sister with the dude's name, Russ, I guess is short for Russelin? I don't know.
Russelina.
Yeah, okay, there you go.
Rusty.
Yeah. Just by needless coincidence, they asked to borrow their ketchup. You notice that the swole guy has like a special forces tattoo on the back of his neck, which I don't. Whatever.
But it's not a tattoo.
Right? Yeah, even that. There's no problem with so simple a solution. This guy couldn't fuck it up.
Yeah, because the pivotal tattoo on the back of the guy's neck was not on his neck the day they were shooting. They added it in post.
And it's not like you need to worry about continuity because we never see it again.
No. Like
no one had like a ballpoint pen that they could have just like drawn a shield on the back of his head and be like, yeah, it looks kind of like special forces, you think? Does that look like? That's like a Green Berets thing?
Yeah, like you make the writing real small, the audience isn't going to read it.
Right. Or you shoot it on whatever you shot it on, the audience won't be able to read it.
You shoot it on the like cereal box camera from fucking Future War. Where it's just like a lens like taped to a box. They pretend it's a news camera.
The movie made entirely with a camera obscura.
Great job.
Yeah, they set up a CMOS sensor behind a pinhole camera. That's Harmony Korine's next movie. I would watch that. I would love that.
Yeah, that would be pretty sick, honestly. I would go watch that. But you know what, Tim? you don't have to make do with backwards ass technology when you're recording with your friend of mine, Zencaster.
That is some front ass technology. Like, that's what I really love about it.
Ain't
It
it
is forward looking. It is, say for instance, you're two knuckleheads recording ostensibly a podcast, and one of you is like, oops, I forgot to record my audio.
This has never happened to me, by the way. Nope, never.
Right, yeah. Say goodbye to problems of that sort.
From idiots.
Yeah,
from
where
stupid morons who can't even remember to hit record when they're recording a podcast.
If your co-host is a perennial fuck-up of the highest order, second only to Rob Roy, director of Lycan Colony.
Just the stupidest bitch you've ever seen.
Someone who doesn't understand technology in any meaningful, useful way. What you want is to, for a low monthly rate, I assume, subscribe to Zencaster, and you can have all your audio recorded by the computer right through your browser. You can have guests on. You don't have to be like, hey, can you send me that wave file? Can you put in my my Dropbox is full. Can you email that to me and then have it bounce because it's 200 megabytes?
Can you go into Google Drive and like give me permission to like view the file because it's not letting me download it.
Then you download the file and it's untitled _1.ogg. Like, what is this, Wikipedia? I'm not using an Og Vorbis file. So all that. Say goodbye to that. Like, what, for your sanity, what price tag would you put on that? I can guarantee that you will pay less if instead you subscribe to Zencaster. And you have that, let them worry about all this shit.
Absolutely. And, speaking as a certified moron, Zencaster has been very helpful in producing my podcast. Podcasting, which of course is the premier media format for morons.
Right, yeah. If you are not good enough to do, I don't know, a YouTube series or, heaven help you, have something on streaming or be on cable, like, if all of those opportunities have passed you by through sheer ineptitude, first off, that is the universe trying to tell you something. Secondly, that this is where Zencaster steps in and tells you something more useful, which is to say, I can make all those problems disappear. I can make it look like you half know what you're doing by recording all your audio for you, as well as whatever people you are able to trick into coming in and guesting on your show, just because you're a reply guy on social media.
Absolutely. Get 2 or 3 or 4 friends, give them the invite link to the room. You just hit record. You get everyone's audio. You download it at the end. Bang. You got a podcast. It's so easy, even I can do it.
Right. Yeah. And like, if you can open an email, which I understand is not necessarily taken for granted, if you can open an email, you can record on Zencaster.
That's all it takes, folks.
Right. And now that we've explained to you how great Zencaster is, what is a person to do with this information? Do they just ignore it and get back to us trashing Lycan Colony and also bring up things that people don't know what we're talking about?
Well, you know what, Tim? That sounds really fun. But another thing that they can also do after they've listened to this very fine episode, courtesy of Zencaster.
Yeah, which we are recording with Zencaster.
That's right.
Yeah,
so it works.
We aren't just telling you about them for money. We're also giving them money to record the show. Yes, but after you finish listening to it, you were saying.
Yes, after you have finished listening to this very fine podcast episode, go into the show notes, click that referral link, and sign up for Zencaster. You'll be glad that you did.
Yeah, or you can open up an Edge browser tab, and you can type in http://
Is that the forward slash or the backward slash?
It is the one under the question mark.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm writing this down.
Okay, and go to geocities.altavista / the squiggle line next to the exclamation point, by the one key. And that is edgy spice dot asp question mark IG underscore FBCID equals, and you know what, actually this is too long, I'll just put in the show notes.
Damn. I wrote down everything up to that point and then you just stopped.
It's a really long number. It's got a lot of letters and numbers in it, and I don't want to mess that up.
You know what? We'll dump it into tiny URL.
Yeah, because like you could put in one of those numbers wrong, and like boom, your identity gets stolen.
Yes, I'm sure that we'll be advertising a service that will help you with that exact contingency very soon.
Oh, well, you can get some of that sweet Skeptoid money advertising identity management services.
Yeah, like we'll tell you to use like a some like VPN or something like that. But anyway, Zencastr, jokes aside, great service. It's helped us a lot making the show. Check out the link in the show notes.
Yeah, most importantly, it's really easy for when you have guests on the show. You don't have to assume like any burden on their part. They can just record. So if sometime in the future you are bold enough to speak to another person other than the one you do a podcast with,
no pressure.
Yeah, there's your opportunity.
There you go. It's an actual use case, folks.
So anyway, about cannibalism.
Yes, we are dealing with one of the oldest taboos with this movie.
Right, yeah.
This is bold stuff, people.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to go there.
Yeah, Russ, who is a woman, and
Gross.
Doug, who is a swole vegetarian. She gets some steak. Dan has an awesome steak. I don't know what Dave eats. Maybe he also ate does Dave know that they're eating people there? Did he just bring Dan to eat another person? Do you think that Dave is like secretly getting off on that? He's like, yeah, Dave, I'm making you eat another human being.
I mean,
this is so great.
I don't think Dave is getting off on it. Like the director definitely is.
Probably. Yeah. Hey, it is the wolf way. Like, I'm just like living my truth, man.
Like what? Like we're all animals.
Yeah. It's a different species. It doesn't even count. They just prey to me. I'm the apex predator. So Doug doesn't eat anything because he's got a body built by soy. Twice soy comes up.
He's the original soy boy.
In the same scene. Yeah, I guess so. So I didn't know soy boys were just jacked and swole.
Yeah. I mean, there are vegan actors and vegetarian athletes. This is another one of the bottom level performances in this movie, by the way. Like
Doug?
I think
swole guy?
Yeah, I think this actor flubs his very first line. And they just left it in.
He's barely in this to like even make any sort of impression, so I'll kind of give him a mulligan on that. Like he comes back later in the movie, and I had to. Granted, I've watched the riff tracks more time than is healthy, but I had to like watch it straight. God, we had to watch Lycan Colony dry.
Yeah, we had to raw dog this one. We had to raw wolf it, folks.
Just the worst.
Double bag it, son.
But yeah. Yeah, but it took watching it dry to be like, oh, that's Doug.
Yes.
Because he comes back and he's in like makeup and it's dark and they're shooting in the forest. It's just like...
And he's not really audible, so you can't tell like that's him mumbling.
So, yeah, being unable to see or hear him are kind of a detriment that you need to overcome to recognizing him. But Doug sucks in this. Zev... really just atrocious acting. Like I hate that the camera's pointed at him at any point.
Well, still, why wouldn't you cast this guy? He's so attractive.
He
looks like one of your like uncle's shady friends or something.
Yeah, I just get like a visceral like negative small town reaction to this guy. And I mean, with apologies,
I've been to Central California.
Yeah. Like, with apologies to Alan Moore, like, old guys with ropey arms should not wear tank tops.
Oh. And they always have long hair, bad. Too.
Yeah, it's some guy that, like, he was, like, kind of like a dipshit and kind of like a bully in high school, and he, like, never really grew out of that, and now he's just kind of like this flunky jagoff who maybe runs a B-movie channel. I don't know.
No, Tim, we don't know anybody like that.
No, I would. But yeah, so Zev is just unpleasant to countenance.
Well, hey,
He
that's why
is
he's the villain, Tim. It's just smart casting.
right. Yeah, I think that anyone's like Tim. I think you're missing the larger point that, of course, you dislike the villain in this movie.
Yeah, Tim.
Yeah, yeah.
Wow,
See?
you just
Rob
really
Roy,
don't get it, do you?
Yeah, he really rope-a-dope me. This Rob Roy. This movie's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna cast the shittiest actor I can find. I'm gonna make him the villain.
Damn.
You'll hate him. You won't even know why.
Some man's playing 12-dimensional chess.
Yes, I mean he's eating all the pieces.
Ooh, chocolate.
Yeah. So yeah, Zev has been he's just a lycanthrope supremacist, I guess. He's like, we can't live with the humans. They'll hunt us.
He doesn't
There's no
like
peace. We
fucking
gotta kill 'em all."
outsiders.
Yeah. He doesn't like little skinny guys with little arms because they eat soy. This is basically the way he talks.
Yeah, that's it. That is exactly how he talks. I can back that up.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, so and through, again, needless coincidence and an insert shot, again, like the action stops so we can take a good look at something. There's a terrible superimposed graphic onto like a gold watch because the alcoholic whose sponsor brought him into a bar needed to borrow the ketchup of two special forces siblings who are looking for their dad, who they have a picture of and who drunken Dr. Dan also recognizes as Sergeant Allen.
Sure, I got that.
Because, hey, small towns, right? You know, everyone knows each other.
An American Werewolf in Boston.
Oh yeah, incidentally, Stu, when he gets bitten by that girl, he becomes a vampire. So
a vampire.
He becomes a werewolf. Yeah, vampire. He gets bitten, whatever. He gets bitten by a werewolf, and if you wanted to create the transformation scene of American Werewolf in London, but you only had like $10.
Well, here's how you do it.
This is what it would look like. Yeah,
it's gonna look like shit. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I mean, I commend the kid for trying to act, not knowing what he's doing.
Yeah, he gave his all, which is not very much at all.
Right, yeah. And and that scene is like one shot.
Yeah.
It is an agonizing boy with like false teeth and contact lenses. It's kind of like thrashing around on his bed.
But the director's friend's punk band's song about something wicked this way comes is playing at top volume. That's
what they call subtext, Jen.
Yeah, it's so badass.
Once Rob Roy is able to master his tool set here, he'll be unstoppable. He will have achieved his final form, that of a bipedal humanoid wolf.
I believe in him.
With a big ol' erect cock.
I wonder what his fur affinity handle is.
I don't. I could go the rest of my life and not know.
If any of you know, please email us info@haveyouseen.us. You don't have to CC Tim, though.
Yeah,
I'm just curious.
You just email Jen. Yeah. God. Yeah, so a fight breaks out because Zev, who killed a man, just has his stuff on him. Like the stuff that he looted, including the photoshopped pocket watch, with the phrase that you can glance at and immediately recognize, which is a really mealy-mouthed adage in it, which I'm not even going to try to recite.
Few are those who rise above the fears that rise before them.
Yeah,
which I guess sounds deep if you're the kind of guy who is in special forces and is like super into challenge coins and like Black Rifle coffee and shit. Yeah,
that is like a word circle. Like that is an Ouroboros of a sentence. It devours its own meaning.
Just really quick, because as you pointed out, there isn't really a watch in this scene because they don't do props in this movie as such. I have noticed. I mean, there's like some weaponry and stuff like that, but they forgot.
Yeah, that raises another concern of mine, but go ahead.
I can't wait to hear this.
Hmm.
Because, yeah, totally. But
Right.
I almost understand doing the engraved watch as like a CGI insert because, like, hey, small production, you don't have the money to go get a gold watch engraved, whatever.
Also, you aren't going to engrave like 20 words onto a gold watch.
No,
it's gonna be
thing.
like, yeah, it's gonna be something that's like just like Latin, like, in vino veritas or something like that. You aren't gonna have like few are those whose fears rise above the fears that rise before them. Like a jeweler's gonna look at you and be like, you need to take this to an editor.
Yeah, or bring me like a plaque the size of a high school diploma, then I can do this for you.
Right, yeah.
But they're not going to do that because they don't have the budget. But it doesn't matter anyway, because even on the insert shot, like, they couldn't fit the phrase, so they just like they did exactly what they tell you not to do with fonts, and they just like use the transform handle to like kind of squish it up so it fits in there.
Right, yeah. More aspect ratio problems for Jen.
Right. Yeah, like you can tell that this shit doesn't completely drive me crazy, by the way. To the point where I can barely speak. I'm so enraged.
Well, more shit that'll drive you crazy, because they start a fight. Zev is just terrible as an actor. He does this like goofy little like turn where he like grabs the pole in the middle of the bar and kind of like whips himself around it. Where it's
Does he?
If I saw that in a cartoon, I'd be like, okay, yeah, that fits. But it's silly. It looks stupid and shitty. They chase him through like by the way, this bar exists in like an unstable pocket dimension where time and space mean nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Zev escapes through like a 2-dimensional hole in the wall, like just off screen. Then they chase him through a walk-in freezer, which leads to another basement.
This bar has like 5 levels.
Yeah, which then leads magically, because they didn't have the shot that shows how they got from one place to the other.
Right.
Which I know, like in Mystery Science Theater, like they kind of, rag on movies where it's like, how do you get from that boat to the house? They didn't show it. More scenes of driving and parking, but this movie does the opposite. Like I said, it's like we need, for this scene to make sense, you have to shoot like 8 different things. And they're like, we ain't got time for that. I'm just going to shoot 3. I'm going to shoot when they're in the bar and when they're in the other bar. It's just like, yeah. All right. Well, hey, you're the Eisenstein here.
The ineptitude of this movie is such that I actually believe that this is a case in which these filmmakers were not even able to visualize what needed to happen. Because, and if you've ever, like...
Just choreographing events in space, like...
Yeah, like if you've taken...
This happens there.
If you've taken a film class and, like, lined out a script or whatever, it can be confusing. But... eventually, because you're in a visual field and you want to at least try to succeed in it, you pick it up. But it's like everyone who worked on this film was like the thing from, that social media thing that went around, which is like, oh, there are people who like can't like visualize like an apple.
Right. Yeah. That's what AI is going to fix, Jen.
Oh, shut the fuck up. You're going to put me in an even worse mood talking about that shit.
Right.
Like I said, people... Don't even. I'm like Holden.
Yeah, we get it. Yeah, no, I know.
I'm like Holden Caulfield. Like AI. Don't even mention that shit to me. Don't mention it. It makes me feel bad.
And you watch Lycan Colony, so
yeah, I know my shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like they can't visualize what goes into a scene. They know.
Yeah.
They have watched enough media that they know that there is there's a connection of shots that depict a sequence.
You know that you point the camera at the things that you want people to see, and the rest of it is it's just kind of a fuzzy gray cloud over their head.
Yeah, and for example, Tim mentioned the pocket dimensions that exist within this building, which is It's like some kind of, it's like an SCP. It's like some non-Euclidean shit. And if you step you step onto the first floor and you fall into the fifth floor, which doesn't actually exist or something like that. Because
like I'm a bar back for the back rooms.
Yeah. Nice work if you can get it or find your way out. There's the part where Dr. Dan like escapes from the werewolf. And there was a lot of stuff that I was able to figure out from watching this movie more than once. I still don't know.
Yeah, you kind of have to infer it.
Yeah, I still don't know exactly what happens in that scene. You see Dr. Dan like wiggling into a space. And then the next thing you see is him falling onto a couch in a basement rec room.
Right, yeah.
And I have no idea. And he was in a kitchen before.
He was in the kitchen. No, he was behind the bar of another bar over the bar that they started in.
Right.
Which is vacant. Perhaps because maybe they didn't have an opportunity to shoot at that first bar after the first night.
Well, you like to have a backup bar in case your first bar fails.
Right, but they kept the first scene that they shot at the first bar, and then we'll shoot at this other bar during the day when there aren't any patrons there, so we don't disrupt service.
Look, you have footage, you use it. Why else would you shoot it?
Right.
You say a line, you use it. It doesn't matter if you blew the line.
Right. It's natural. It's realistic.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, and people say David Lynch's films are hard to follow, huh? R.I.P.
Rest in peace. I do hope that in heaven everything is fine.
Yes.
Topical. Anyway.
Yeah, the director of Lycan Colony will not get into heaven.
He will not see heaven.
Yeah.
He won't cry. Are you saying he won't cross the Rainbow Bridge?
No. He needs his film career put down.
Burf.
Yes. Oh. Dead animals. Right. So yeah, so Dan, who is unnecessary to the story, falls through just like he clips through the floor.
Yeah.
And he ends up on someone's couch. And the takeaway from the shooting style is like, if you never establish the 180-degree rule, you can never break it.
That's true.
So,
that's true.
Yeah.
Maybe what happened with it was that this movie started as a video game and then that was too hard. So they turned it into a movie.
Well, it started as a Tumblr post, I'm sure.
a series of GIFs.
Yeah.
Like 3 Wolf Moon style GIFs. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, so just understanding where you are in space and also I forgot to mention Doug gets killed.
Right. He gets slashed by Zev or something.
Yeah. And Dan, who I may remind you is a surgeon, is unable to help him.
Yeah, like he kind of tries to like lamely administer some first aid and then he just says he's gone. And then Russ is like, "No!" It's like so sad, you guys.
Yeah, she's really upset by it. Shit happens. Also, Dave is not anywhere to be found.
Yeah, he just
Where's Dave? We do meet up with him again after Dan climbs out of someone's basement, like a house basement. And Dave's there and be like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" And he's like, "I'm dreaming. I gotta go home and get in bed so I can wake up."
And that's one of the movie's several attempts at comedy. Like, they attempt comedy, they don't know how to execute it. So it's like, oh, that was supposed to be a joke. Like, Dr. Dan is supposed to be the comic relief.
Yeah, I mean, Dan's character is a joke. This is true. He's also utterly useless in this movie.
Yeah.
He should be excised entirely.
Like, it's supposed to, like, be some, like, Whedon-esque, like, quipping in the face of danger, but, man, like...
But it sucks.
Whedon is better than this. I hate to say it.
Like, I mean, not as a person.
No. Oh, no.
So remember his son Stu is turning into a werewolf at home?
Right, and, like, menacing his mom.
And yeah, well, I mean, his mom is asleep, because I guess she just puts on, like, her CD of, like, cartoon snoring sounds. to help her fall asleep.
It's better than podcasts or audiobooks. It really relaxes me.
Yeah, it's like literally like honk shoe honk.
Yeah, she needs a CPAP.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he menaces her. He chases her into a bathroom. She looks through the keyhole in the door, even though they haven't made those in like a century.
Yeah, like you can't do that anymore.
Right.
Like that's not how doors work now.
Yeah. Yeah, it's absolutely not.
And this is Lycan Colony. You're not going to be able to see anything anyway.
Well, yeah, I guess it's moot. And someone remembered that close encounter scene from Alien 3 and tried to do that.
Oh, right. Yes.
Yeah, of Ripley with the alien. I don't mean to throw any shade, but he does not pull it off.
Shocker.
It somehow lacks the tension. Anyway, this woman's son got turned into a werewolf, which she just kind of handles. Yeah,
there's a point where everyone just kind of starts rolling with the supernatural events.
Yeah, it doesn't... The story's gone off the rails, and it hasn't even started yet.
I don't think there were rails for it to start on.
Right, yeah. It's completely... It's the Greyhound is off the track at this point.
Yeah, like to do like...
It's in the crowd, it's biting people.
It's not interested in the fake rabbit.
No. Russ drives off. She gets a flat. Dave manifests himself again. Like just in the middle of the forest.
Yeah.
Which he's a werewolf, so I guess maybe they can do that. Dan gets home. He's ready to kill his son because he turned into a werewolf, even though he's dreaming.
Yeah, but then his wife says, "It's your son, Stuart." He's an only child, by the way.
What's that?
He's an only child, by the way.
Right, yeah. So it's your son, Stuart, not the other one.
Yeah.
Oh, no, wait, that's a different guy.
Oh, that is a whole other drama-filled conversation, but...
Yeah.
But first thing first, your son is a werewolf.
Mm-hmm. Right. Your other son, though.
He's making werewolf movies. It's worse.
Yeah, so...
I knew we shouldn't have rented Balto.
God. If you want your kid to grow up normal, don't let them watch Balto.
Just don't watch Balto anyway. It's not very good.
Well, maybe that's it. Yeah, but oh man, the dog bollocks on that are so well rendered.
It's the dog's bollocks.
Yes. Russ just goes through like action movie cliche lines to Dave, just like threatening him.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Oh, you could tie me up, but I can just break out of these. You can shoot me, but I'll just heal." And Russ is like, "I'm gonna cut you up in little pieces." All right.
She is such a badass.
And she really likes listening to Pink Floyd's Metal, so that's where she got the idea. But they all meet back at Dan's, and what I thought was hilarious, perhaps even intentionally, is that so Russ is scared out of her panties, which she mentions having to change at some point.
They're ranger panties though, so she's tough.
Yes, yeah. So she and Dave show up at Dan's house, brandishing shotguns. They are armed. They just show up back in Dan's place, and Dan, whose son has just been turned into a werewolf, whose wife hates him, who has seen a man die tonight. The two of them show up, and Dan, who is an alcoholic, goes to his fridge and pulls out a beer.
Which, fair.
I guess. Yeah, and he just kind of greets him like, "Hey." And he sits down and has the beer. Just like, okay.
I gotta say, like, that is legitimately kind of funny.
Well, describing it is funny, yeah, but watching it fucking sucks.
Well, it's not well shot.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and
by the way, when I forgot to mention when Dave kind of ambushes Russ in the woods, he alludes to a ton of weaponry in the trunk of her car, which we're not allowed to see. We just have to take his
No.
word for it. He's like, oh, you got enough to outfit an army there. And it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
like, I'm sure in the black void that is the trunk of that car, there's stuff in it.
If there was a light in the trunk, we would have meant to see it.
You would
but
see
since
some
there isn't,
shit,
we're not.
man. Trust
Yeah,
me.
so no.
It would be so
you have
sick.
To, you have to wait a few scenes for that to finally show up.
Right.
Yeah, and speaking of Dave, who is the worst actor that we've ever seen, remember how he said about how there's silver in the water?
Yes.
Well, Dave says as much because he says it has municipal purposes.
Yeah, and
and bless him, he just soldiers through.
Yeah, and we say that the guy playing Dave is a bad actor, but I would hate to miss out on lines like, I've been undercover for months, trying to imitate Zev's pack.
I would go so far as to say that Dave is probably also a bad person. Like, that's how bad an actor he is.
And of course, there's one of the best lines in the film, which is when Dave is explaining that the lycanthropes have formed their own town so they can live amongst their own people. In his words, fucking damn Amish can do it. Why can't us?
They give this jackoff a whole speech.
Yeah,
like,
which
he
is so
not an
mean.
Actor. It's terrible.
Like, why would you do this to this poor man? There is a corner of like a visible cue card as well at one point.
Yeah, you do see that.
Yeah. So he's like Brando.
Oh, okay.
So he's actually really good.
He's right. Yeah.
He's actually the best actor in the world. So joke's on you.
Yeah, you didn't even know that I was purposely flubbing those lines. You thought it was all authentic. I'm in deep, man.
He was just hardcore trolling like Brando on Island of Dr. Moreau. His old choice.
Now, again, like I'm fighting to give this actor or this director an iota of credit, but meta-narratively,
Go on.
We keep hearing about Dan's alcoholism. Like, it is established early on as being important. I wonder if the lycanthropy is an alcoholism metaphor. Like, when you're drunk, you turn into this monster. You're not yourself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, I've just completely reversed myself. This is the best movie I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a clumsy fucking way to say it.
Right.
Like, yeah, this movie is not good at what it's trying to say, but if one were to be generous, and I'm not, yeah.
No, yeah, because there is definitely a parallel, and maybe that's why you have Dave in the bar earlier saying, when he's explaining to Dr. Dan why they're in a fucking bar after their AA meeting, you're always going to be surrounded by temptations, so you might as well like learn to live with it.
Yeah, and he's doing Dave is doing like meditation stuff to make it so he doesn't turn into a werewolf, which does seem weird because Stu is wolfing out, but like no one else in the town is, and it's a full moon. Like, shouldn't everyone in the town be a werewolf? Like, no, they're all drinking the silver water and they're meditating.
Yes,
they're
living
but
clean.
The point is they're not getting drunk.
Yes.
Eating tofu.
Yep. It's a movie about making choices, the right ones.
Yeah, it's a movie about issues.
Yeah. Damn, this shit is deep. You figured it out, Tim.
Despite the director's best efforts, I figured it out.
Yeah, like, oh my God, you communicated something. Honey, we are so proud of you.
Yes.
You did it, kid.
Yeah. Dan continues to be useless in this movie. He dreams about everyone being a werewolf. Doug is back somehow.
This has,
I guess,
yeah, and that's a tell that this is like a dream sequence, because you also see like Russ chowing down on like raw people meat, but this scene as well really tips the movie into fetish territory.
Possibly,
because like there's the scene ends with like just this long slow motion close up of Russ licking her fingers. And it's like, okay, I get it.
Oh, gross.
Jesus
I didn't even
Christ.
think of that.
Okay, you're eating long pig. It's crazy. Okay, can we move on?
Yeah. Just all right, yeah, fine. You can eat a person like in your werewolf form. if you need to be a werewolf in order to feel comfortable eating a human being, fine. Just don't touch alcohol anymore.
fucking damn Pacific Islanders can do it. Why not us?
So yeah, we watched this dream for no reason, and then a few days later, the director shoots just one take of Russ talking directly to camera to say, "Wake up, Dan."
Yes.
And that, I guess, is supposed to cut together.
It was all
the
a
editing is terrible.
dream.
Yeah, is what I'm trying to get across here. Stu's no longer a werewolf, but then they like handcuff him and sedate him. Stu's story arc goes nowhere.
Nah, yeah.
Like, you don't need Dan in this movie. You don't need Stu in this movie.
Yeah. Like,
you barely need the wife.
There are no hard choices made as a result of Stu becoming a werewolf. There's no like real conflict.
Yeah, he's just not a werewolf at the end, or he is, and it doesn't matter. It's he's not important.
I guess he werewolfs with his girlfriend, who is a werewolf. So it all worked out.
Who the mom is okay with. In fact, she's like, "Oh, I think I like her now." It's like, you've never met this person. How do you like her now?
The girl,
at no point did the two of you interact.
The girl who climbed into your son's bedroom and then assaulted him.
Yeah. Yeah, well, she's good for my son.
I don't know. Like, she was probably like, I honestly thought Stu was gay, so this is great.
Right, yeah. Well, she's hostile and threatening to her, the man she's in a relationship with. So she's like, yeah, game recognized game.
Yeah, like, as she says, like, I can be a real bitch sometimes.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I feel that,
like
sister.
A dog bitch.
Ha 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 ha. Anyway.
This movie sucks. The editing is one of the worst things about it. Dan's fucking useless. They
gotta go get Zev, but first they have to meet maybe the best character in the movie.
Right, yeah, this is the stunt woman. But one of the things, too, that I wanted to mention in that scene previously, because they're like, oh, we got to go attack Zev during the day because they won't expect it. It's like, whatever. You just make this shit up. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't.
But this is
when,
care. And also, yeah, and
I don't care.
I don't care. Yeah. Yeah, and Dave is like, and Russ is like, oh, but I kicked your dog's asses. And Dave's like, no, they just healed again. Whatever. Fuck, it's not important. This movie sucks. But they arm themselves, and here's the thing that I find unnerving is because Russ lays out like maybe a dozen knives and guns on this kitchen table, which just raises the question to me, why does the filmmaker have this many weapons?
He's probably
like this director owns a gun, at least.
This was
or maybe enough guns to necessitate an entire rack.
At least a gun. This was 2006. Do you think he's in a militia by now?
Do you think... Here, I'll do you one better. Do you think that there's a furry militia?
Oh, I don't know for certain, but I would put money on it.
I can't say for sure, but statistically, yes.
I mean, if there are furry Nazis, there are definitely furry militias. And there are furry Nazis.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks for telling me that.
Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. I'm against no-kill shelters now.
Yeah, it's like your own your pet holocaust. You have to be a militant furry. But you were talking about the best part of this movie,
right?
There even is one good thing about it, and there isn't.
Yeah, so it's very important to Dave that Russ meet his friend Athena, who is a witch.
Mm-hmm.
Who is?
Yeah, she is a leathery cougar, and I do mean that metaphorically.
She's amazing. She's like a suburban wine mom, but like dressing like Stevie Nicks does on the weekend.
She runs a crystal shop in Sedona, Arizona.
Yes.
And she lives in a commune and grows her own food, which is not good. And what she doesn't grow, she just gets at Whole Foods. Right.
And she can relate information to you either by...
She can manifest wealth and strength and has sage for protection.
Yeah, she's got all the accoutrement. And she can convey information to you by either sticking her tongue in your ear, or she can do it to you, the viewer, simply by staring intensely right into the camera.
Which is such an awkward moment. It's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it is so amazing. Like, because, you could tell, like,
this is pure anti-cinema.
Yeah, they're like, at this point in the movie, you're like, okay, like, they're going to tell how this wolf colony, like, came together, right? And she's going to relate the story. So they're zooming in on her face, and then suddenly she's looking directly into the camera and into your soul. And then they zoom in!
There's a way to convey that, and this is not it.
Yeah.
Like, whatever they're trying to get across, there's a way to do that. I don't know what it is, and neither does the director.
Yeah, but it's, it's kind of cute. Like, they had, like, a big info dump that needed to go here.
They have an Asian woman, like, mumbling gibberish over a fire.
Yeah, a wise shaman. And because, like, white people have no imagination, like, of course, this is all Wendigo shit.
Oh, God. See what I said earlier about Ravenous? Like, yeah, there are two great Wendigo movies now.
I'm going to divest myself of all my possessions, give my funds to land back organizations, and resign from the show in shame over this movie. This is a big white.
You're recording on stolen land, Jen.
That's true. We forgot to do our land acknowledgement up front.
Yeah, of the Ohlone and the Chumash.
Yes, Tongva.
Sure.
Yeah, that's West LA, right?
I'm not an archaeologist. I don't know.
I'm just a simple country podcaster.
Yeah, no. Yeah, like during the Zencaster ad, like you recall, we're explaining how only stupid people record podcasts.
That's
like
true.
We are they.
Yeah,
yeah, that's how you know.
Oh, and also, by the way, audience, you can't get...
This keeps us from making movies, though.
You can't get mad at us for being flippant about Indigenous people or anything else because we're very stupid. So you're being ableist if you cancel us.
Yeah, see? Yeah. There. Now who's being intolerant?
Anyway, back to absolutely eviscerating the work of this director.
Yeah.
But yeah, big info dump. The wolves came out of, because, it's all like wibbly wobbly Native American-y.
Look, a guy got attacked by a bear, and like the scouts are like, well, we're starving, we need to eat this guy. And then one guy he was just the hungry caterpillar of the indigenous people.
Oh, that book really, that book really pissed off parents.
Oh, yes.
The very hungry lycanthrope.
Yeah, so he just kept eating the other members of the tribe until the shaman's like, no, I cast thee out. You're banished. But he kept coming around and biting people, and they turn into werewolves. And then eventually the shaman's like, all right, fine. I see what you're going for. You've earned it. And then she grants them immortality.
Sure.
Yeah, that is a powerful shaman who just like kind of rolls over, where it's like, you're becoming an abomination to nature, but I respect your hustle.
Yeah, like you got your own thing, and I kind of can't like crap on that. So yeah, and you would think that, if you're being like beleaguered by shapeshifters, you wouldn't then make them immortal. But I am not like a wise woman of a tribe,
right?
So
yeah. Well, she's just like, hey, I know when I'm beat.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You guys can live forever. You just can't leave this valley.
Yes, and that is how you get Canisboro. A place which
because Boro means like a house.
Sure.
It's a town, it's a village.
But
I don't know what Canis means.
But the like Canis lupus.
I don't know what that's two words I don't know.
That's are you doing a bit?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Look, Jen, I'm not as dumb as a regular podcaster. You know this. I'm even dumber.
We're dumb. Yeah, we're so dumb. We're talking about Lycan Colony on a Friday night.
Yeah, I know. He begs us for a dog. then he becomes one.
I love
Dan, you suck.
I love this scene too because it just shows that the director understands nothing about like timing or acting because it's like it's so awkward. It's supposed to be this playful moment between husband and wife where he makes kind of he jokes around with some kind of black humor and then she gives him like a jokey slap in the face just like, but it's staged so awkwardly.
Our son is cursed with a murderous bloodlust. Just like getting a dog.
Cute. Is that really worse than any other teenage boy? Ho, ho, ho,
True.
ho, ho.
And and I mean also like hell, you got a dog and that's much worse.
Yeah,
that dog sucks.
Because while Stu turned into a werewolf, he did not turn into a miniature pincher.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish that on. Yeah, that's a breed that should be just extinguished.
Now that would be scarier than any John Landis film.
It would be more annoying.
Burf.
Yeah. So we've had a lot of hijinks. The movie is about I don't know 2/3 of the way through, and then the story actually kicks in.
Well,
like,
this is where the cool action happens.
Well, no, this is where like the actual events of the story begin to transpire. Everything else has just been a bullshit waste of time up until now. The story is Russ teams up with Dave, who wants to catch Zev because Zev killed Russ's brother.
And their dad.
Yeah, and their dad. And Dave is on board with that. Even though he's a werewolf, he understands that Zev is, contravening societal norms or pack norms, I guess.
Dave is one of the good ones.
Yes. So this is where the story actually starts. It is Russ and Dave, like everything with like Dan and his son and the bar and the AA meetings, all that bullshit you can cut out. This is the actual meat of the story, which is roughly 20 minutes.
Well, hey, I knew they'd get around to it eventually. You just got to have a little faith.
Yeah, we'll start the movie before the end of the movie. That is my promise to you.
It's a good place to start.
Yeah, so the editing for this is terrible. Some scenes are shot in a forest. Some scenes are shot in a room where there's a green screen where a forest is projected onto that.
Boy, and this is...
or superimposed.
James Cameron, like, watch out, because this is masterful use of the technology.
And because the story isn't engaging, my imagination, I'm trying to figure out why it is shot this way. And the first excuse, because it wasn't a reasoned, it was an excuse. The first excuse that I hit on is they didn't want to take the fursuit out into the forest.
Man, it's hard enough cleaning the cum out of this thing. You think I want grass stains too?
Right, yeah. And I think an addendum to that might be the actors didn't want to come out into the forest. The third hypothesis is they got kicked out and weren't allowed to shoot there.
Yes, they were in Kevin Bacon's backyard.
Right, they're chased out by dogs or possibly werewolves or maybe just an angry, IT support group of furries.
Or a miniature pincher.
Oh, geez. Well, you can just kick those. You can just step on them. The only scenes that seem to be shot in the forest are with Russ and occasionally Doug. Oh, yeah, Doug's alive again.
Yeah, he shows up.
Yeah, so Russ is really game. Like, this is the woman who stepped into the role that another actor is just like, this is bullshit. I'm not wasting my time with this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm going to go work the deep fryer or, do like smog checks or whatever the hell it is that I do.
Do something meaningful in comparison.
Yeah. Like, I'm not going to be in your shitty movie. I'm just going to go be, the bagger at the supermarket. I have a life.
Good for him.
I'm sorry, I can't help you. Or he just stopped picking up his phone. But yeah, Russ is in there. Russ is out in the forest. Russ is with Doug. So Russ actually bothered, or maybe she had the wardrobe. She had a backpack. She had camo pants. She actually goes out and shoots. No one else does. Jen, correct me if I'm wrong. You don't see anyone else in the forest. Everyone else is on the green screen with the forest superimposed behind them.
No, I think you're right.
Yeah, Athena's never seen, like, out in the woods, the fursuit, which is supposed to be Zev. he is never seen out in the forest. Like, it's just like, and again, when you watch them fight, it's like watching like a Dreamcast, like, version of like Street Fighter or something.
Yeah, like this is boy, I barely have the words for how horribly the quote unquote action scenes are staged in this movie.
Again, well, like if you cut out like 2 out of every 3 shots that you need for a scene, it's going to go roughly like this.
And it is also incredibly difficult to actually parse what's going on. And the only reason that Tim and I are able to do it is because we've seen this movie a bunch of times and have puzzled over it. You will not have any clarity the first time you watch this. Every single scene, you're going to be like, what happened? Yeah. What is that? What am I looking at?
There's a point where the movie just loses you. Like, just somewhere in some time, like, there's a guy who might be Dave or might be Doug, and you're just like, oh yeah, of course, because we just saw Russ get pulled out of a tree, and now here she is rolling around with some laundry on a green screen.
It's immaculate. It's like Coppola's staging in One from the Heart. The heightened artificiality is part of the aesthetic.
Yeah, that, like, I love that part in One from the Heart where a woman in camo pants wrestles like some sentient couch cushions.
Oh yeah, I think that was you're speaking, of course, of Terry Garr and Raul Julia, both doing fine work.
Yes, yeah. Terry Garr, of course.
Yes, this was a Zoetrope production.
I nearly got that joke out. Well, hey, maybe I can take some elocution lessons from Dave.
Well, Tim, like, if I've learned anything from Lycan Colony is that you can just leave the flubs in. So it doesn't matter.
They are awesome. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, so...
Because on Have You Seen This, we don't believe in mistakes!
They capture Zev. Zev escapes. They go to the redwoods, which are literally red. Athena shows up, distracts them. They put a dog collar on Zev, and then they blow him up. Whatever. We're done.
Yeah. And, and they can't even do, like, the little, like, heartwarming montage wrap-up correctly in a movie like this. Yeah, because
it's just like, oh, we need to shoot another thing. I forgot.
Yeah. Like, and they're like weird because the editing is so choppy. It makes for these incredibly bizarre tonal shifts. Like, for example,
the editing is terrible. Something
which I only just figured out today after having seen this movie like 35 times.
Have you seen this?
Athena's pet pot-bellied pig is apparently a small boy.
I thought he was the monkey.
Well, because she says to the pig when it comes to the door, "Are you hungry? Do you want your breakfast? Okay, I'll be right back." She sounds like my mom talking to Reggie. And
right, yeah, that dog sucks.
Then you see the kid eating cereal.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, oh, okay, so the kid is getting breakfast, so the kid's the pig. But now the monkey...
That doesn't track.
The monkey is a monkey wrench, if you will, because I have no idea who the fuck that is.
The monkey is setting up the sequel because, and now I know I've been nitpicking some minor problems with this story.
Yeah, you've been really hard on this movie, Tim.
I don't think I mean I just have a high standard for my werewolf movies. Look, as someone who played Werewolf the Apocalypse, this is a subject matter that is very near to my heart.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize you had this expertise, so.
Right, yeah. Well, I was a guru glasswalker, as you do, and yeah, I'm there to fight the worm. So Athena does mention earlier on, because Russ, prompted, is like, well, how come you don't look like a werewolf? And she's like, oh, well, I'm a theramorph.
Sure. Oh, God.
And
this
I'm
guy's
not going to look that
furry.
up.
He is such a furry.
I don't know what a theramorph is. Like, it's bad enough I know what a cryptid is. I'm not going to look that up. I'm just going to take Athena's word for it that she's like, oh, I can turn into whatever. And like, oh, that explains the pig. That explains the monkey at the end. Like, it's just like, we have werewolves, but we also have whatever. We have whatevers.
Sure.
It's casual lycanthropy in Canisborough.
Why not?
Dress up like a monkey day. So I don't know. Maybe she's the monkey. Maybe the monkey was the friend we made along the way. Look,
maybe the monkey directed the fucking movie, for all we know.
That would have been good.
They are very smart.
Yeah. One of the other things that I like that we skipped over, that Asian woman who was Native American, the shaman,
right?
Who's just like whatever. Yeah, you guys win. So she has to do something to like turn Zev from a werewolf back into a person, which I guess you can do. Maybe that's what happened to Stu. Maybe that's what happened to Dave.
Maybe.
Or Doug. Damn it. Because we see Doug at the end and he's normal. Is he just not werewolf, or is he not a Why are we talking about this?
Well, as Tim, I should remind you, as Doug said when he first showed up in his werewolf form, he says when his sister points out that, wait, I thought you had to wait like a full cycle of the moon before you could like fully werewolf out or whatever. Doug says to her, "It depends on how strong you are, and I'm a fast learner."
Two things that have nothing to do with each other. Yes, correct.
So you could see how he'd be extra good at being a werewolf within 24 hours.
He would be awesome at being a werewolf.
Yeah.
But anyway, so the shaman that sucks. My favorite part is when she has to depower Zev. I am going to assume she did not get any direction in this scene. Further, I am sure she did not get any lines for this scene. So, her spell to cure Zev of being a werewolf or depower him or whatever is looking up and going, ah!
It makes sense if you think about it.
Just one, sharp note, not any kind of like chanting or singing or intoning.
Nope, just yelling.
Just shouting.
Yeah, and that was, you laughed, him, but that was actually in the script. They actually wrote out, ah.
Yeah, and she goes up to him and she's like, I want to be clear on my character's motivation. How should I be enunciating the lowercase a's versus the uppercase?
It's all
what best conveys the mysticism?
It's all like written out in like linguistic notation. I got a C in linguistics.
There's like a diphthong and a schwa.
Yeah, I couldn't learn any of that shit. I was too stupid. That's why I'm podcasting.
I sat in on that and then I dropped it. I'm like, I don't have a use for this.
It's fucking hard, dude.
Also, the same thing when I sat in a sociology class, but
oh yeah,
that's a story for another episode.
Yes, but in the meantime,
stop talking about Lycan Colony.
I love how like our longest episodes are inevitably about the bottom of the barrel movies.
You're trying to like, if Morpheus was here, he'd say, you're trying to reason out something you can't understand, like a splinter in your mind.
That's so true.
That's
Morpheus.
What we're doing. Like, we're trying to like square the circle here. You can't do it. You can't explain to listeners what they were trying to do with Lycan Colony. It is inexplicable. Like here, Ben, you've lost 6 sanity.
That sounds about right. I accept that.
Yeah. So
I didn't have much to begin with.
Sheet. Well, as long as you don't lose 10% in one player session, you should be all right.
Tim was going to GM somehow.
All right. Tell me what your character's doing now.
Turning off the recorder.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, you can show your support by going to patreon.com/haveyouseenthis and make a pledge at the $2 or $5 tier. $5 a month gets the latest episode before everyone else, plus access to our Discord, where we're always arguing about movies. If you'd like to give us a tip, our Ko-Fi link is in the show notes. All right, are you recording or?
Yeah.
Oh, you are. Oh, you cut all this horse shit. Great.